Hello everybody, I do promise at some point in time I am going to get round to making a video on this, my new custom built for me by Overclockers UK twin loop wall mounted edit PC. It is a work of art. I've always wanted something like that and it was a bit of a treat to myself. The inner geek in me is absolutely delighted with it. However, I have been a little bit busy making car content of late, and if you want to see a video on this, please comment down below, tell me you're desperate to see a little bit more about that and what exactly is in here, and I'll make that video. The more comments, the quicker it will happen. But before then, I do need to check that it can run this. Anyway, before that, today I'm going to be talking to you about why it is that the greatest source of automotive content on the internet, Carfection, was always doomed to fail. In very many ways, a lot of what I have to say today isn't unique to Carfection. You could also apply it to the Drive, in some ways Drivers Republic, though I think many people, including Mr. Harris, would rather nobody mention that name again, and the likes of Drive Tribe. Drive Tribe is a particularly unusual case because they had an awful lot of money thrown at it and still somehow managed to completely balls it up. A number of years ago, I did a piece commenting on why I felt at the time, despite it still being in its infancy, Drive Tribe was already irreparably broken. It turned out, in very many ways, that I was correct. Yet still today, every now and again on that video, I'll get a comment from someone saying, "Who's laughing now? Look how many subscribers they've got. You haven't got that many, have you?" Well, no, I don't. It's true. They have a lot more subscribers than I do. However, to get the subscribers that they have, they also built an entire social media network that collapsed in on itself. They had the 3 most famous faces in the motoring world, and yet still somehow managed to turn it into a failure. So to answer the question, who's laughing now? Well, I don't think either of us. I personally feel it's very sad. There are a lot of people working there who lost their jobs. That's never a good thing. And I really wanted it to work, but it was never going to. However, today I'm going to be talking mostly about Carfection and why, despite it being absolutely brilliant reference quality automotive content, it just was never ever going to work. You may have already guessed that the reasonably obvious and predictable answer is money, and you would be correct. The simple and very sad truth is that YouTube simply is not geared up to reward quality content. It's really that basic. Carfection began over a decade ago. Originally branded X-Car, it featured input from the likes of Drew Stern, Rich Duesberg, Alex Goy, and later the likes of Henry Catchpole. I've always felt that it offered reference quality content that is beautifully shot, well presented, concise, yet packed with information, and honestly, it is the gold standard to which I think all other YouTube content, including myself, should be measured. I really don't consider any of my videos to have met the giddy heights of Carfection content, but that is for one simple reason. When I began this channel, I looked at what they were doing, I wrote down some basic maths, and I thought, this just cannot be working for them. There's no way at all they can be making a profit. And the simple fact is, they weren't. Today, Carfection has just over 1 million subscribers, but if I look through the last videos that they made, the final one being, very poignantly, the Ferrari 550, they've got 114,000 views, 64,000 views, 36, 48, 180, 71, 17, 101, a couple here with close to 500,000. These aren't views particularly far away from what I get on my own channel, so I know the amount of revenue that they've been bringing in. And for many of these videos, their earnings would be in the sort of low hundreds, mid hundreds. If it's a big video, £1,000 to £3,000, and that's for one with, 500,000, 1 million views, that sort of thing. But the fact is, these videos are made in a very old-fashioned way, just like they were creating TV. So you have your presenter, sometimes presenters, you have a cameraman, sometimes multiple of those, and you have an editor. On top of that, most of these things involve trips to nice places, even if it's, say, Scotland, which isn't all that far away. But that involves hotels, petrol money, general expenses on food and all that jazz. And it's really, really easy for even a basic shoot to wind up costing you £3,000 to £5,000. Or if you want to do something fruity over a longer period, even more than that. At one point in time, I calculated the simple fuel costs of taking something like an old school Rolls Royce that does, 11 to the gallon to Scotland and back would be about £700. And that's in old fuel price money too, not current prices. I don't know how much it is that journalists get paid or even how they're paid. I think it's just a basic day rate, but I would imagine it's in the sort of few £100 a day category. I do know how much cameramen and editors get paid, and that's a similar amount. As a freelance jobbing cameraman, depending on whether you're bringing the kit or not, you can expect between sort of £250 to £650 a day. Again, on top of that, you've got to add your mileage, you've got to add all your other expenses, food, hotel, and all that jazz. So if I were to put together a basic short film crew, you're easily looking at £2,000 to £3,000 a day. And that is before you've gone and done anything daft like hiring a racetrack, which even for a cheap one is going to cost you several £1,000s, even if you just have it for a morning. So if you've ever watched any sort of automotive content where a track is involved and it isn't a press do, it hasn't been hired by a manufacturer for a press day, then this has probably cost the production company near enough 10,000 quid. And when they do that, they have absolutely no idea how many views they're going to get. They may get 5 million, in which case they're going to be okay. But they may get 500,000, in which case they're not even breaking even. And they may get 100,000, in which case they've just made an enormous loss. Now, for your traditional YouTuber, like myself, it works in a fairly simple way. We don't get any views, we don't get any money. We get loads of views, smiles all round, everyone's on the ginger beer. And that is the risk you take as a YouTuber. But for all your traditional types, your presenters, your cameramen, all that jazz, they have to get paid regardless of whether the video does well or not. There is essentially no risk involved for them. It is that makes me a little bit upset when I go on the occasional event and I get completely and totally ignored by your traditional magazine journos. I know that's exactly the same for many of my fellow YouTubers, and I hasten to add, all the people I've talked about today are nice, lovely, really warm, welcoming people that I have chatted to. This is not a universal thing. But it does apply to a lot of people, including some whose words I've grown up reading and admiring and who inspired me in some small way to get into the job that I do today. It's very sad when those people feel a little bit bitter that you've come along and are now making more money because you've taken a massive risk over a large number of years that's really easy to forget about, because while you were doing that and you were small fry, nobody knew about you. Then when your channel's big, it can often look as if these things have happened overnight, when that really isn't the case. And I know a huge amount of you watching have been there for me since the early days and have seen this journey happen. And to you, I am always eternally grateful. But I must say, I find it really fascinating to see when traditional presenters come into the YouTube arena and start up their own channels, because I watch these things and go, okay, all right, so this person here, they have no camera skills, they have no edit skills, presumably, so they're paying people to come in, shoot stuff, edit stuff, produce stuff, and all that jazz. Kind of like when they were on TV, only on a much smaller scale. And sure, it won't have the same production costs as being on TV, but there are still production costs. And then I see the views that they get and the size of the channel and all that, and you go, well, there's just no money to be made here. So either it's a massive vanity project, or they're hoping at some point that it will turn a profit, or another TV gig will come along and start paying them proper money. I've no doubt whatsoever that for a lot of these people, YouTube is simply a passion project. They just love cars, they want to make some content about it, and they really don't care they're losing a bit of money in doing so. Maybe they've got more than enough of it anyway, so losing a few grand here or there to make some fun stuff really doesn't matter to anybody. And to those people, I am particularly grateful, because they're taking the time, effort, and money to produce content they simply don't need to, because they enjoy it. And they do it knowing that other people out there like us will also enjoy it too. But for anything like Carfection or The Drive that relies essentially on the charity of a massive corporate backer, CNET, CBS for Carfection, and Google itself for The Drive, it doesn't take much for the plug to be pulled. In fact, all it really requires is one person to go, we've lost a little bit too much money lately, how do we fix that? And they'll look at things like this and go, this is consistently a money-losing enterprise, and we really don't ever see it being any different. And they'll go, yep, that's it. We've had enough. We've tried it for a decade. It didn't work. We'll give up. Just to stop this from turning into an all doom and gloom piece, the good news is that when these things do finish, generally there are other companies out there that'll go, that was quite good stuff. I think we could do a little bit of that. So though we've lost Carfection, in recent years we have gained Haggerty, and they seem to be on a mission to produce a huge amount of amazing automotive content. They already snapped up Jason Camissa, who's produced some amazing stuff. His Revelation series is brilliant, some of my favourite current content. They've also nicked Henry Catchpole, so if you're missing his dulcet lyrics and his rakish profile, that's where you're going to find him, and some top quality content that's also being made in very much the same way as this. So that's going to last for just about as long as Haggerty are willing to support it. The good news is that for Haggerty, they have a direct way to monetize this content. Because they are an insurance provider, they have something they can sell you. So, provided that doing this kind of stuff is also making them a little bit more money, somebody up in the corporate hierarchy will say, yeah, we'll carry on doing that. However, for the rest of us, there are only two ways that YouTube content, motoring content specifically, because really this is quite a niche thing, can be self-sustaining. One is if you go the motor trend route and you throw an enormous amount of resources at it. I'm not convinced that Motor Trend maybe is making as much money as you think, but they're certainly turning a profit. And they can do that because they're in America, which is a car-obsessed place. American audiences also generate much higher revenue than UK ones. To give you an idea, if I have someone in America watch a video of mine, I'll earn twice as much money as someone from Britain. That's a big difference. That's why the people in America that have similar views to me have a lot more things. They get more money per view. Or you do it the way that most of the rest of us do it. You do it the same way as me, as Number 27, as Ratarossa, as Shmee. A lot of people think Shmee has a huge team behind him. That's actually not the case. He really is very hands-on. You've also got the car guys, Lauren's Mechanical Marvels, and I'm sure I've missed out a whole host of other great channels. Dad Cars, I Drive a Classic, all sorts of stuff. We can only do things this way because we are one men, woman, whatever bands. We produce, we write, we edit, we direct, we shoot the thing, we do everything. And only by doing it that way is it ever remotely possible to actually turn a profit and make YouTube something self-sustaining. Sure, if I was at Mr. Beast levels of content, then yeah, I'd be able to hire a lot more people. It would be a little bit easier to do things in a more traditional way. But the fact is, like it or not, car content really is a niche audience. If you compare it to something like the cosmetics industry, which is willing to throw huge, vast, unimaginable sums of money at influencers, well, if I wanted to put some lippy on, I'd make a lot more money than going out and doing car stuff. It also doesn't help that the overheads involved in doing this are really, really high. Gaming YouTubers don't really have to worry about petrol costs, driving all over the place, insurance, all that jazz, or the consequences of what will happen if they get something wrong. Well, unless they call someone a very, very bad word, in which case the consequences for them are the same as for me. Your career will be over. But generally speaking, it really isn't possible to try and make content on YouTube in a traditional fashion with the help of others, with everyone being paid and a profit being turned. Simply cannot happen. Couple of other channels that I forgot to mention, High Peak Autos. A lot of people say they watch me and watch him. Really, one day we should probably do a bit of a collab. We speak every now and again, so if you want to see that, please hop into the comment section down below. And also, of course, the granddaddy of them all, Harry Metcalf. Now, the fact is that even Harry would be the first person to tell you that many of the things he does just don't make money. Taking the Testarossa to the Sahara, taking his Rolls Royce to the Arctic. Amazing, brilliant videos. And I frequently get comments from people saying, James, why don't you make content just like that? Well, the fact is, I have to be a little bit brutal. I have to treat this like a business. Just recently, I released a video where I talked about Bentley, the history of the company. It took about 3 or 4 days to film that. I went all over the shop, decided to make it really interesting because I could have made it sat here. I could have overlaid a bunch of footage, done it in a day, nice and easy. Instead, I did it the hard way. I'd say between fuel, hotels and everything, making that video cost about £800 to £1,000 maybe, and it returned me a fraction of that. I later did a video talking about Top Gear's cheap car challenges and how you could do those, and I did that sat here. I sat here, talked to you, had some car and classified ads up here, and talk. I get 10 times as many views for that. So from a business perspective, it's always heartbreaking to go, well, I spent lots and lots of money, time and effort on that, none whatsoever on that, but it's that one that got the views. It's pretty disheartening. Now, don't worry, I'm going to keep making the content that I want to keep making, and I'm going to make it because I like making it, and I know that you do appreciate it. But as with Harry, doing these things the proper way does not make me any money. I do it as a treat to myself and as a thank you to all of you. But it just cannot, nor will ever be the norm. I cannot say that every single piece of content that I make is going to be great, high quality, amazingly shot, beautiful stuff, traveling all over the world, because that is a really, really quick road to bankruptcy. And that, hopefully, in short, explains some of the mechanics of the financial side of YouTube and the realities of being in this very unusual, exciting, and to me, brilliant industry, because it's been fantastic to me. It's been wonderful. It's been amazing. With the support of your good self, I have been able to achieve things that really are dreams. And I say are because it's kind of difficult to believe. I took the F12 out yesterday and it's like, this is my car. This is unusual. But yeah, so anyway, there's a little bit about the way that YouTube works. Hope you've enjoyed this. And if you have, don't forget, hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.